heard them all before, but it's the way I tell it. I should have read you this letter earlier on, actually. It's from my mother. She says, "Dear Frank, you've now been away for 3 weeks, and we thought you were still in the lavatory." The insurance man called this morning and said, "If the last instalment on your granny's funeral isn't paid, up she comes." Since you've left home, your fella has become a sex maniac and tries to make love to me every opportunity he gets. Please excuse the wobbly writing. Let me get away with that one. Well, it wasn't me told that, it's the comic come behind me. Your Aunt Lily has had her teeth out and a new kitchen sink put in. Your grandmother, who has been bedridden for 35 years, took a feed of Epsom salts yesterday. She came down the stairs for the first time today. The funeral was at 2 o'clock. Your Uncle Joe drank a bottle of varnish yesterday and had a horrible death, but a lovely finish. Your Uncle Paddy, who's been on Andrew's liver salts for 37 years, died a fortnight ago. Yesterday, we had to go up to the cemetery and beat his liver to death with a stick. The way I tell it. I would have put £2 in this letter, only I have the envelope sealed. See me laughing at that one? That's the first time I've heard it as well. Your Uncle George, who is a sergeant in the paratroopers in Germany, jumped out of the aeroplane and his parachute didn't open. He landed in a big field full of horses' manure. And spoke the only 2 words in German he knew. Achtung. The body of a woman believed to have been murdered 600 years ago was discovered here today in the Donegal Hills by archaeologists. The local Royal Ulster Constabulary are looking for a 642-year-old man to help them with their inquiry. Your brother Sammy, who has 2 wooden legs, was fire watching last night when the building went on fire. The brigade came out and saved the building, but Sammy was burnt to the ground. The insurance company wouldn't pay out as they said he hadn't a leg to stand on.
We're having a good time, aren't we? What about these 2 fellas in prison and they can't get out? One said to the other, "How long are you in for?" And his pal said 3 days. So he said, "How did you manage that?" He said, "They hanged me on Monday." It's a killer, that one, isn't it, eh? So they took him across to that place where they do it. And they had to cross this big yard in the teeming rain. And they said to the hangman, "What a rotten day to go across here in." And he said, "You should worry, because I've got to come back in this lot." What are you laughing at? He said, "Have you got any last requests?" He said, "I'll keep your trap shut." He said, "I'm not kidding now, this is your very last chance." He said, "All right then, would you mind putting the rope round my waist, because I've got a boil on me neck, you know?"
L'abiquello s'ingria l'ulpinguella ri e mi tu sugli verni quella mi di su mia biquella ri all together now. You should see your faces out there. Are you a nice lad tonight? I was coming out of the house last night, and one of those typical BBC men was on the telly. He made an announcement. He said, "Did you know that on an average in this country, every year 20,000 couples are brought together in happy matrimony? And it's just got to stop." Aren't kiddies funny nowadays? Little boys funny. My little boy came up to me today and said, "Daddy," he says, "why do they tie knots in the little baby's umbilical cords?" He's been to college, bless him. I said, "I don't know, son." He said, "Well, if they didn't, he'd go..." Get him off the seal. Oh, they're friendly, aren't they? Aren't they friendly people in Manchester? Friendly. I drove here, today by car. I put my hand out to turn right, and a policeman kissed it. It was about 60
It's a nice place, though, Blackpool, isn't it? Eh? I went to a dance in Blackpool one night, all fellas. All fellas. How'd you go to dance, all fellas? I said, "Where's all..." Hey, I said, "Where's all the birds?" He said, "This is a man's club." I said, "Who do we dance with?" He said, "We dance together, Duck." I said, "That's kinky." He said, "Who's them two big fellas on the bandstand in Wellies?" Are they the chuckers out? He said, "No, they're the spot prizes." Tell you another one. Sir Matt Busby was at a banquet in Italy, and he sat next to Sophie Loren. She said, "Are you the famous Sir Matt Busby from United?" He said, "Aye." "Okay. Aye. Aye. Okay. Aye." She says, "Can I have your autograph, Sir Matt?" "Yeah. Okay. Aye. Aye." For Matt Busby to give Sophie Loren an autograph is a pleasure. So she looked in her handbag, and she couldn't find any paper. And he looked in his handbag, and he couldn't find any paper. She said, "Don't worry, Sir Matt, you can come to my dressing room and sign your name on my bum." He said, "Joe Mercer signs all the bums." I said to Sir Matt Busby last week, I said, "What time's the kick-off, Matt?" He said, "What time can you come?" No, I'm only joking. I saw Dennis Law score a good goal the other week. Did you see it in all our yesterday's? Shouldn't take the mickey out of him, should we? Should stay with the topical stuff now, shall we? Eh? Fellas stood at the bus stop eating a meat pie in his wellies. There's a woman there with a poodle. And the poodle was jumping up for a bit of the meat pie. He said, "Missus, can I throw your dog a bit?" She said, "Yes." So he threw the dog 100 yards up the road.
Just come back from Australia tour, got into a plane in Australia. A fellow walked into the pilot, stuck a bloody big shotgun in his ear and said, "Take me to London." The pilot says, "I'm going to London." He says, "I know, but I've been hijacked twice and I'm taking no chances."
Like them kinky ones, don't you? Tic Tac fella died, and all the blokes are at the Tic Tac's funeral. Know these Tic Tac fellas who flagged the prices over to one another, on the race courses? There they were, all round the poor fella's grave, and they're lowering him down. One says to Harry, "What's his chances of getting to heaven?" He says, 6 to 4. The fella said, "No, 2 to 1. He said, "No, 6 to 4. All of a sudden, the vicar come along and went, he said, "They're giving him 33 to 1 here."
And the Pope has made a fortune out of his new book, The Pills Grim Progress. Very good. They've just invented a new pill for Catholics, weighs 3.5 tons. You put it up against the door and your husband can't get in. Maggie Murphy went to the doctor. She said, "I've forgotten to take my contradictive pills." He says, "You're ignorant." She says, "Yeah, 3 months."
Fella backs a horse called Yellow Yellow, wins £250,000. Has all his house painted yellow, yellow carpets, yellow furnishings, everything yellow. And he got yellow jaundice and he died and they can't find him. Fellow walked in a boot and shoe repair. He said, I've come for my boots. He said, when do you leave them? He says, 1933, Wednesday afternoon, September the 15th. He says, you what? He says, September 1933, the 15th, Wednesday afternoon. He said, this shop's changed hands 15 times since then. He said, well, I'll have to have them. I'm starting work in the morning. He said, have you got the ticket? He said, aye. Gives him a nice clean ticket. He says, oh, it's ridiculous, this, he said. Goes down the cellar, comes back full of the black as the ace of spades. He said, I've got them. Ready Thursday. Magician working the big liners, doing all his tricks, and the parrot on the side there keeps saying, it's up his sleeve, it's down his jumper, it's up his trousers leg. Queers the act. And the ship's boiler's blue. And him and the parrot's on this plank for 4 days. And the parrot's looking at him like that. And after 4 days, the parrot said, OK, I give up. What have you done with the ship? Fellow walks in a hairdresser's, give us a Tony Curtis. Cut all his hair off just like an egg. He says, you Burke. You know who Tony Curtis is? He said, well, I should do. I saw the King and I 14 times.
Thank you very much. Settle down now. Oh. I don't want you to make a noise because we've got a headache. Just putting some toilet water on my hair and the seat fell down. It's good, that, isn't it? I made that one up. I said to this fellow, why is your dog wearing brown boots? He said, its black ones are being mended. You're all laughing, aren't you? You're having a good time, aren't we? I saw this fella pulling a piece of string. I talk to anybody, me, you know. I said, what are you pulling that for? He said, you want to try pushing here? Do you get it, eh? We'll all have belly aching a bit, won't we? He had a dog on the end. I said, where are you checking the dog? He said, I'm going to have it put down. I said, is it mad? He said, well, it's not very pleased. And this fella came up, he said, that dog bit my mother-in-law. He said, well, don't come to me for damages. He said, I want to buy it off you. I want to buy it off you. He don't like his mother-in-law. He gets up an hour earlier to wait her a bit longer. She don't like me. She says she's going to dance on my grave, but I don't care because I'm getting buried at sea.
But I went away on a holiday. We're standing at Manchester Piccadilly Station, waiting to get on the train. And mother-in-law's there, not very bright, electrified system. And she says to the guy, will I get a shock if I put my foot on that rail down there? He said, no, madam, only if you cock your other leg over that cable up there. So she did, and we all got one. Anyway. So off we go, and the train stops miles from anywhere in Hertfordshire. He said, what we stopped for? And the guard said, we just hit a cow. She said, was it on the line? He said, no, we went across the field after it. Anyway, so we're on holiday, we're going across to Spain with mother-in-law. You know, we get halfway there, she starts, I want to go home. I said, shut up, keep swimming. And there we are, going. She's sitting on the beach in a deck chair, in a bikini. You can imagine, my wife's mother, God, she's enormous, you know, 79, 53, 84. 84, we don't know what she's got down there yet, but it's a bloody big one. And, I think she's inside out. Anyway, the deck chairman comes up, he says, Senora, you will have to leave the beach. The tide is waiting to come in. So we lifted her, me and the boys, and she was trying to get up and she leaned over and they had this eclipse in Gibraltar. No, I'm only kidding. Morocco. Anyway, she was always complaining. My wife came and she said, Ray, mother's complaining. I said, what is it this time? She's always complaining. She said, these Spanish lads keep pinching her bottom. I said, but they do that to all the women. She said, not with pliers, they don't.
Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, going through the customs at Heathrow Airport. The customs official said, have you got any LSD on you? Purple hearts, cannabis? I said, no, what made you ask? He said, well, you got here half an hour before the plane.
Did you hear about the hippie? He was out of his mind on LSD, and he's on top of this block of flats saying, I'm a jumbo jet, I'm a jumbo jet, I'm a jumbo jet. And he dived off the top. And halfway down, two other hippies hijacked him and flew him to Cuba.
Woman goes to the doctor, she said, doctor, examine me, examine me. He examined her, he said, there's nothing wrong with you. He said, you've got jelly in one ear and custard in the other. She said, could you speak up? I'm a trifle deaf.
I don't know. What about that fella that died and his mate went to see him and he's stretched out there in this box and he said to the widow, he said he doesn't half look happy, you know, because he was smiling. She said, wait till he wakes up, we don't know he's dead yet.
The Lions were playing the Ants in the middle of the jungle, football. And the Lions was all over these Ants, winning 3-0. But the little wide-head Ants fetched a centipede on half-time. Played the game of its life, scored 14 goals. And they're running off at full time, and the Lions captain ran over to this ant, this centipede. He said, I've never seen such fantastic football in my life. I wish he didn't come out in the first half. He said, I was putting my boots on. Hairdresser's winner in Liverpool, Beetle haircut, sixpence. This fellow went in, he cut all his hair off. He said, hey, pal, he said, the Beatles don't have their haircut like this. He said, they do if they come in here. Fellow talking to his mate, he said, I've had a lot of bad luck, he said, with marriage. He said, I wouldn't get married again. He said, I've been married twice. A lot of bad luck. He said, why? He said, well, first wife died eating poisoned mushrooms. What about your second wife? He says, fractured skull. He said, how was that? He said, she wouldn't eat your mushrooms. Fellow walks in this pub, pinches a boomerang off the wall, and the landlord cops him, and he shoved it up his jumper, you know. Slung him out 78 times. Fellow walks in the doctor, he said, how do I stand, doctor? He said, you live to be 80. He says, I'm 80. He says, what'd I tell you?
Ain't it a lovely night? We alternate, never good. You better do Epsom salts in it, a good laugh, right? It's great. Do you know, though, the bloke went to doctors, it's true this, he went to doctors, so doctor says, can they help you out fruit? He says, I can, lad. He says, well, what's up with it? He said, I ain't been to the toilet for 3 months. He says, that what? He said, I ain't been to the toilet for 3... He said, I'll rate in the old sport. Writes him a prescription. You see, he wrote it out. He says, get them down there. Does it well to good. So lad took him home, has his tea. Thought, right, I'll go to the chemist. So he gets his coat on, you know, walks down, looks at prescription, 7 stone of Epsom salt, 7 stone. He thought, good God. So he went back for garden barry, you know. A fortnight later, doctor looking at prescription pad, he thought, good God, I've made a right mess of this. 7 stone, it should have been 7 ounce. Aye. Got it car, flying down to the bloke's house, knocks on the door flew open. Bloke's wife's walking downstairs with 2 buckets full, 2 buckets! He said, I'm sorry, lads, I've made a mistake. Is he all right? She says, is he all right? This is 14th bucket, he's been dead a week. Oh, I'm right place you could get here. I am. But all right. My mother's Yorkshire, not my mother. She is I. My dad, anybody's guess, but don't matter. But I'm part Scotch, really. I am, it's true. I am part Scotch. My dad wore a colour sergeant in black watch. Oh, I'm always talking about folk, you know. But nobody minds, druther, really. You know, it's part and parcel of life, isn't it? You've got to have a bit of fun. I mean, look at me, I was born in early 30s. You know, I'm not sure to look, hair's going a bit silver. It's with this game, you know, it knocks you up. But I was born and I lived in a terrace row, half a mile long. There weren't there them days, terrace rows, half a mile long. Toilets round back, and that got to be fast. It's true, it's true. Hey, you'd got to motor them days. You'd got to motor, else it were chap legs. No, but it's true. And hey, you 2 bedrooms, hadn't you? 2 bedrooms, living place and little kitchen, didn't you? With set pot in corner. Hey, set pot. The mother used to be doing washing on a Monday, didn't she? Bless her. Hey, copper full of washing. When she finished washing, she chucked the in for a bath. Same copper on a Tuesday, full of stew. And there were dumplings as big as cauliflower sparkle. Hey, the mum used to say, get the ear in. Ooh. I got more than others because I got thicker lips.
Oh, I don't know. We were poor at our house as well. Were you poor at your house? Eh? When we were kids, we were poor, you know. I had no choice. That's why I play the banjo now and again, you know, because I took it up when I was a kid and... All together. You'll have me crying in a minute. I did. But, you know, I used to make up my own games. Hands up all the fellas in the audience tonight that used to play with a wheel and a stick. Come on, put your hands up, let's see you. Come on, let's see you. Hands up all those that played with a wheel and a stick when they were kids. Come on, let's see you. Be honest about it. There's one. Look, there's one. And if you had a tyre on it, you were posh, weren't you? Happy days, I don't know. Oh, I'll never forget though, because, you know, when you don't have much money, and I remember my mum saying, "Now, Kenny," she said, "go to the butcher's and tell him he wants a sheep's head and ask him to leave the legs on." What about that woman? What about that woman in the back garden hanging out the washing and all the trains are going past the end of the fence? And this fella's leaning over the fence and he says, "By gum, Gertie, you don't half look miserable, don't you?" She said, I know it's my husband, the daft thing. He's got rid of that old bed we had. It was an antique, 100 years old. And he used to be able to curl around all the lumps and bumps. It was very comfortable, you know. And he's got rid of it. And now, with this new one, every time a train passes, I bounce out of bed. He said, go on, I don't believe you. She said, you come in and see. So he come in. She said, come on upstairs now, and I'll show you. So he went upstairs. She said, now I'll get into bed and you watch. So he said, all right. So she got in bed. She said, better still, you get in with me and you'll be able to see for yourself then. And he went, all right then. That's what he said. He went, all right. So he got in, and her husband come home and copped him, and he said, hey, what's all this? He said, you'll never believe this, but we're waiting for a train.
Went to the doctor's this morning. I said, doctor, you'll have to do something for me. I'm a terrible liar. He said, don't believe you.
Got a shocking cough. I shouldn't smoke. Doctor's given me 1 day to give up smoking, so I've chosen September the 18th. You heard about the fellow who went to the psychiatrist with a ration of bacon on his head and a poached egg on each foot. And he said, it's about my brother. Another fellow walked in, he said, you need glasses. He said, how do you know? He said, tell, as soon as you walk to that window. The old lady swallowed a spoon. He said, sit there and don't stir.
I see him all over, you know. No, I do. I meet friends wherever I go. I always meet friends. I go round to the doctors pretty regularly. No, I'm not sick. I've just converted the mother-in-law to a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm trying to get her in for a major operation. Anyway, I went round this day, and I walked in, and the nurse is there, you see. I said, is the doctor in? She said, he's practising. I said, I'll come back when he's perfect. So I sat there, you see, and we're reading all the papers and the magazines. Isn't it a shame about the Titanic? All those people. I'm sat next to this fellow with one leg called Arthur. I don't know what his other leg was called, but it's nice. I walked in, you see, I walked in the insulting room. And there's Kildare. He said, what do you want? I said, I keep thinking I'm a dog. He said, how long have you been like this? I said, well, ever since I was a pup. I said, give me something for the wind. So he gave me a kite. Nothing. He said, first job, put your left foot on the table. So I put it up. He said, put your right one up. Well, I fell on my back. He said, how long have you been having these dizzy spells then? He said, strip off. So I stripped off and I'm stood there, muscles rippling like that. The only man that got his money back from Charles Atlas. I said, how do I stand, doctor? He said, God knows, I don't. He said, look, go to that window there and stick your tongue out. I said, will it do me any good? He said, no, but I ate that fella across the road. So one look at my tongue, he said, not putting that thing back in your mouth, eh? He said, look, you. He always calls me look. There's only one thing for you. What you've got to do, drink a glass of orange juice every day after a hot bath. I saw him a couple of days later. He said, have you drunk orange juice? I said, I haven't finished drinking the hot bath yet.
Fool. No, this is true, I wouldn't tell you now, perfectly true. Though the Yankee doctor came over to England, you know what these Yanks are? All mouth. It's right, this, it's right. And he went to this hospital, you see, at this Yankee, and he said, well, I'd like a look around your hospital. They said, fair enough, old flower, bring this end in. So he went in, you know, and give him a cup of Thai food and all paraphernalia. So he said, I'd like a look around your wards, you know, just to see how the patient... They said, fair enough, come on. So they took him down wards, you know, and showed him a patient. They said, well, have a look at this one. What do you think? So he pulled blankets back, you know, these Yanks. Whether they know what's wrong or not, they pulled blankets back, you know. He said, my God, he said, yes, rather pale, blue around the lips. I should say this man's suffering from heart trouble. He said, that's right, Flower, top oil. Very nice. Halfway down Walter said, now then, would you like to look at this man? He said, my God, he said, this man's really serious. Yellow jaundice, bloodshot eyes. Said, this man's suffering from kidney trouble. He said, that's right again, Flower. Well done. Went to bottom at wall, there's a man squatted there in bed, you know. Squatted there, eyes protruding, veins stuck out. He says, goodness, my God, that man's suffering from blood pressure. He said, that's wrong. He's set on pot.
Well, I was stopping in a nice hotel there, or a nice lodging house, actually, in Bolton. Nice 4-bedroom, semi-detached slum. I said to the woman, I said, there's a fly swimming in the soup. She said, then you've too much soup, it should be paddling. I said, the dinner's lovely, but that big Alsatian dog hasn't stopped barking. She says, no wonder you're eating off his plate. But her husband was a nice fella. He was lying in bed looking for work. I said, can you not get a job? He said, there's no work at my trade. I said, what's your trade? He said, I'm a Zeppelin builder. I said, I couldn't sleep in that bed last night. There was a dead flea in the bed. She says, a dead flea will do you no harm. I said, I know that, but there was 40,000 came to the funeral. She said, there's not a single flea in this house. I said, I know that. They're all married with big families. And I said, the cockroaches are jumping from the wardrobe onto the bed like a springboard. She said, if you pull the bed away from the wall, they'll miss it. I said, I'd done that and the cockroaches kept pulling it back. And I said, I'd like to talk to you about the ceiling in my bedroom. She says, what about it? I said, I'd like one. She says, well, you needn't worry because the people upstairs won't walk about much. But they'll drop in and again. And she said, don't be annoyed if you hear footsteps in the middle of the night. Rose walks in her sleep. So I dashed up the stairs and took the door of the hinges. 3 o'clock in the morning, in came Rose. The biggest bloody Labrador you've ever seen. And her young son was kneeling by the side of the bed, but in show business I thought it set a good example. I knelt down by the side of the bed too. He said, what are you doing, mister? I said, I'm doing exactly what you're doing, son. He said, my ma'll kill you, it's over on this side.
I always have a job getting digs, you know, in Manchester myself. It's funny, isn't it? You know, and I get on with anybody, me, but... And I went to this house in Moss Side and I knocked on this door and a big woman come out. She said, what do you want? I said, do you think the lady next door will give me a cup of water? I wasn't scared of her, was I? But I got in one place. You know, and she said, what do you want? I said, I want to stop here. She said, well, have you got a good memory for faces? I said, I have. She said, well, you need one because there's no mirror in the bathroom. and I went upstairs, and I washed my hands, and, you know, and I said, where's the towel? She said, there isn't one. You have to hang your hands out of the window. I'm glad I didn't have a bath. Now, folks, special announcement here. If there's a gentleman by the name of Pharaoh who was last heard of 2,000 years ago, please report to the British Museum, where your mum is very poorly. Also, the chap that has a bubble car, go outside because there's a rat dragging it down the gutter. The rest of it's a letter from me dad. No, it's from my granny, this one. Got bad eyesight. Says, dear Ken, she always says dear Ken when she writes to me. She says, dear Ken, I'm writing this letter very slow because I know you don't read very fast. And the 10 shillings I owe you, I would have sent, but I've sealed the envelope. And there you go. It goes on to say, the overcoat you left at our house, I've sent it on to you in a big parcel, but as they wanted to charge me extra for the weight, I've cut the buttons off. P.S. They're in the pocket. That's me, Granny. I went in a chipper the other night and this fella come in, pushed right to the front. He said, give us 6 of chips before the trouble starts. I said, what trouble? He said, I've got no money. And I went swimming at the baths the other day. I love the baths. I went to the Turkish baths. That's a good change, you know. Have you ever been? It's a laugh, isn't it? You know, you look around, you know. They laughed at me and I laughed at them, you know. I might be daft, but I'm not stupid, you know. Look at that lot there. But I went in, you know, and I went into this room and you go down a corridor into another room and it was full of steam, so I took all my clothes off and when the steam cleared, it was in a chip shop.
Two lunatics out on a bike ride, me and our kid. One of them gets off his bike and lets the tyres down. And his mate said, what do you do that for? He said, the seat's too high. So his mate gets off his bike, gets his spanners out, takes the handlebars off, takes the seat off, and puts the handlebars at the back. And puts the seat at the front. And his mate said, what do you do that for? He said, if you're going to mess about, I'm going home. You all used to watch Huey Green's show, didn't you? Double your money, say yes. And this fella won £32 and went on the treasure trail answering questions on sport. And he gets up to £250 and Huey says, will you come back next week and tell us whether you're going to take the 250 or try for the 500? He said, right, Huey. So he came back next week and Huey says, what are you going to do? He said, I'll try for the 500. Huey says, right, go in the box. Put the earphones on. Now understand, old son, I can't help you. Monica? Can I have the £500 question on sport? Thank you. Now understand, old son, this question is in 3 parts. Do you want the first part first? Or the second part second? Or do you want the third part third? Or do you want the first part second? The second part first? Or the first part third? This fella says, I'll have the third part first, Huey. Huey said, who scored the goal? That's
Found a nice drive out from Morecambe, a little country pub in the village, miles from anywhere, up in the Lake District. Tommy was with me, my mate, the boozer. He said to the landlord, "Have you got a big black dog in this village with a white collar?" Landlord said, "No, we haven't." He said, "Well, have you got a big black cat with a white collar?" Landlord said, "No, we haven't." Tommy looked at me, he says, "Yeah, it was the vicar I ran over." He's a fool. He's getting absent-minded, though. He has to buy a loaf of bread to find out what day it is. And he's drinking heavy, as usual. He went on one of the continental coach trips for his holidays, and he was the only one on the bus that could see nothing wrong with the Tower of Pisa. He supped so much on the boat coming back, they had to pay duty on him to get him back in the country. He came out of the pub drunk the other night. There were two nuns walking towards him, and one went either side of him. He says, "How the hell did she do that?" That's right. There's so many empty bottles in their back garden, it's put 200 quid on the value of the house. The whole family's potted. He's got a sister, Ethel she's called, and she used to live in a terraced house, and the corporation were pulling it down, so they rehoused them in one of these big blocks of flats they're slinging up miles high, and they were on about the 40th floor. They moved in the first day, they sent the kids out on the balcony to look down at the aeroplanes. He said to his wife, he said, "Ethel," he said, "it's our first real home, this. Hope you're going to look after it and keep it nice like it is now." She says, "I will, I'm house proud." She went out Tuesday, didn't come back while Friday. He said, "Where have you been?" She said, "I've been doing the steps."
Funny girl, my wife. When we got married, she makes a cup of tea every morning, a dressing gown. Can't afford a teapot. First night I went to bed, the first night we were there, I sat looking out the window all night in my wellies. She said, "Why don't you come to bed?" I said, "My mum said it's going to be the best night of my life and I'm not going to miss a minute of it." Fella went to the doctors. He said, "Doctor," he said, "you've got to help me." He said, "Nobody wants to speak to me." The doctor said, "Next." One fella went to the doctor and said, "Doctor," he said, "I'm invisible." The doctor said, "Who said that?" Who said that? Well, I went to the doctor, said, "Doctor," he said, "you've got to help me." The doctor said, "Why? What's the matter?" He said, "Well, I can't understand it." He says, "For weeks now, I've developed a hell of a temper. I talk to people and then I flare up for no reason whatsoever." The doctor said, "How long has it been going on?" "You just told you!" The acting ability's boozing out of me, innit? I don't know. Yeah, fella went round collecting for the Stretford Brass Band Association Society. Knocked on this woman's door. She said, "Yes?" He said, "I'm collecting on behalf of the Stretford Brass Band Association Society." She said, "Eh?" He said, "I'm collecting on behalf of the Stretford Brass Band Association Society." She said, "Eh?" "I'm collecting on behalf of the Stretford Brass Band Association Society." She said, "Hang on a minute." Comes out with her earring on. "What did you say?" "I'm collecting on behalf of the Stretford Brass Band Association Society." She said, "Hey." "Oh," he said, "I'm going." Going down the pattern, she says, "Close me gate." He said, "Blowing you and your ruddy gate." She said, "Blowing you and your ruddy Stretford Brass Band Association Society."
How'd you like me up to now, then? Lovely show, isn't it? I'm the only one I've never heard of, you know. There was a knock at my back door today, and I opened the door. There's no one there. Yeah. So I closed it. There's another knock and I opened it. There's no one there. A little voice said, hey. Hey. I looked, there was a little fairy with a wand broke and a halo all bent, you know, and all her dress black. I said, what do you want? She said, can you do something with the bottom of your garden? Two old ladies talking. Once I'd have seen your husband walking down Blackpool Prom with a big blonde on his arm. He said, well, he's a bit old for a bucket and spade, isn't he? There's a fella. I had a stammer. He went to the fish and chip shop. He said, can I have 3 better ch-ch-ch? And the cat flew at him. There's 2 goats. There's 2 goats walking around in Hollywood. And they're opening dustbins, you see. And one finds a film and eats it. Goes... And the other goat said, what was it like? He said, not bad. Not as good as the book. The fella takes his mother-in-law to Paris on a day out. And he takes up the Eiffel Tower and he throws her off the top. Zhudunk. And in court the next day, the judge said, I'm going to make an example of you. He said, I couldn't help it, Your Honour. It was in a fit of temper. And the judge said, it doesn't matter, you could have hit someone on the head. You'll love this one. This one will bring the house down. There's a hyena walking through the jungle with a monkey. And the hyena said, I'm braver than you, monkey. And the monkey said, you're not. You're not. He said, I am. I'm braver than you. The monkey said, you're not. I'm braver than you. And just then, a great big lion jumped out the bush and grabbed the hyena. And the monkey was up a tree. Zhidunk. And the hyena was lying there, torn to ribbons. The lion walks away. And the monkey came down and said, I thought you were brave. And the hyena said, why didn't you help me out? He said, the way you were laughing, I thought you were getting on top. No, I just love it. So there's 2 scousers, you see, there's 2 scousers go fishing in the Mersey. And they got in the rowboat, and they're rowing out. He said, and they're pulling them in. Big fish, little fish, tons of that. Ah, God, he said, look at that, look at that, look at that. Give them to the algal, give them. Get it. And he said, oh, we'll have a marvellous night. He said, shall we come tomorrow? He said, yeah. He said, well, mark the spot. So he put a cross on the side of the boat. And rowed away. His mate said, you daft bat. We might get the same boat tomorrow.
Hey, hold on. Hold on. I should like to tell you this. A good one, it's a good one, mine. It's clean. There's a mate of mine, and he's a grand fella, and he goes in booze every day. Life and soul at party. He's always on, having a good laugh, smokes, he can sup like a fish. All his life. Come in other week, and does thou know, his face were down here. I says, what's up, cock? He wouldn't answer me, Dan knows he wouldn't answer me. I thought, poor old cocker. I said, come here, Flower, let's have a word with thee. I says, what's the matter with thee? Why aren't they talking? Well, they use little life and soul at party. What's up with thee, old love? He said, well, I said, I tell thee, I've got to talk to somebody. He said, I've been to the doctors. He said, and I've got 6 months to live. I said, cheer up, it'll soon pass.
On site, Granada comes to Withenshaw Estate, Manchester. Get the picture in the studio, Councillor Smith, Councillor Jones, Councillor Brown. Sat in champagne bucket chairs, smoking King Edward cigars, sipping Napoleon brandy, fitted carpet, the best of everything. Where's the punters on Withenshaw? In the pouring rain. Hey! Are you there, Ray Gosling? Yes, I'm here. And I'm very stood here, I'll tell you. Are we on the air yet? We're on now. Good evening. On site this week comes from Withenshaw Estate, Manchester, and we have a Mr. Mitchell off the estate who has a complaint for Councillor Jones. Mr. Mitchell. Thanks very much, son. Thank you. Councillor Jones, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. It's about our roof. Yes, we want one. £4.15 a week for these houses, councillors. A disgrace. We've got bugs. Well, put your bed away from the wall. We've done that, they pull it back. I threw a bucket of petrol on them the other night to come out on motorbikes. I'm sick of these houses, I'll tell you. The walls are that thin, I opened the oven door the other day, there's a fella dipping his bread in our gravy. And another thing, councillor, I think I'm the only one that works up here. There's some right layabouts live on this estate, I'll tell you. Fella next door to me, last job he had, school prefect. One of his insurance stamps is worth more than a penny black. He's been on the dole that long, he goes to the staff dances. Now listen, councillor, what are you going to do about the pond at the bottom of the garden there? What are you going to do about that pond? I've been complaining about 14 years about that pond. Now you're doing nothing about it. Well, Mr. Mitchell, can I... What are you going to do about that pond? Can I speak? What are you going to do? Well, Mr. Mitchell, if you don't let me speak, I won't be able to tell you. Now just settle down, please. We know all about this pond. And we had a meeting only last week, the Town and Country Planning, about this pond, Mr. Mitchell. And we're going to send you 3 ducks.
I'm not so keen on them. I like what they call stupid jokes. I love stupid, silly jokes, like the woman that went to the butcher's shop and said, 2 lamb chops will make them lean. He said, which way? Or, you get a laugh and let you know. How about the... Stop. How about the fella? He went to the butcher and said, hey, butcher, have you got any tripe? He said, yes, sir, we got plenty of tripe. He said, is your tripe pure? He said, sir, our tripe's as pure as your wife. He said, oh, well, give us a pork chop. That can go worse than that with stupid jokes. Like 2 fellas in the market having a chat. Fella said to his mate, I've got 250-day-old chicks going cheap. His mate said, what do you expect them to do? Bark? Get used to them, they go steadily worse. 2 Scottish ducks going down the street, and one duck said to the other duck, quack, quack. The other duck said, I'm coming as quick as I can. The fellow walked in the bookie, said to the fellow behind the counter in the bookie, he said, back to He said, a favourite? He said, no. He said, back to He said, a filly? He said, no. He said, back to He said, a 4th race? He said, no. He said, back to He said, look, here's £2, come back tomorrow, we're very busy. So the fellow took the £2, went outside and saw his mate. He said, hey, he's a funny fella. He just gave me £2. And only went to tell him back to 5-ton lorry into his car.
Lancashire lad goes to the vets, flat cap, white raincoat, galoshes, Woodbine. He said, I've come about me cat. It's poorly. He says, is it a Tom? He says, no, I brought it with me, he said. Fellow went to the psychiatrist and said, I can't stop telling lies. He said, I don't believe you. Tramp walks in the doctor's. The doctor says, get out of here, you stink, you smell. Get out of here. Smell, get out. He said, the doctor next door told me that. He said, what are you doing in here? He said, I wanted a second opinion. Little old woman goes in this greengrocer's shop. She said, £5 of potatoes. He said, will you take King Edward? She said, no, let him come for his own. Two drunks walk in this hotel. Well sloshed. Straight up to the reception. He says, come here, pal. Have you got a room with 2 single beds in for me and Charlie? He said, certainly, sir, room 309. And they're both that drunk, they can both get in the same bed. He says, Charlie, that fella's twisted us. He said, we're getting 2 single beds, there's someone in bed with me. He says, Fred, there's someone in bed with me, I know. He said, well, I'm going to sling mine out. And he gets hold of Charlie and bang, right down the wall. He said, I've slung him out, Charlie. He says, Fred, mine slung me out. He said, well, don't bother. Get him with me.
Oh, no, don't stop. And, but mind you, I don't know if you noticed, when you watch the telly, especially at home, and you go to the theatre at the seaside, you always find when a comedian comes on to get on, they always begin by saying, a very funny thing happened to me on the way to the theatre tonight. Well, it did. As true as I'm riding this camel, I was driving along the road, and coming the other way was this lady driver, flashing her lights, pipping her horn in a big white car. She got near me and she wound the window down. And she went, pig, pig, pig! I didn't know her. I didn't. She went, pig! So I wound my window down and I went, you old bag! And I run over a pig. And you do feel daft. And I thought, I'll have a walk round. And I'm walking up the main street there, and coming the other way was this fella, knee-high boots, fishnet tights, hot pants, handbag. But what made him stand out? He had this big alteration dog on a lead. Big thing. I thought, ooh, I'll follow this fella. And he went straight into a pub, went up to the barman, he said, excuse me, love. By the way, I'm only acting when I do this. Just, He said, listen. He said, give us a gin fizz. The barman said, I'm very sorry, sir. Could you go elsewhere? He said, no, I can't. What do you mean go elsewhere? Give us a gin fizz. He said, look, sir, it's a very respectable establishment. Would you mind going elsewhere, please? He said, now listen. Blue eyes. Cherry lips. I'm getting proper cross. Now, if you don't serve me, I've got my big dog here, and he's going to jump over the bar and destroy you. Now, give me a gin fizz. A fizzy one with a cherry on top. He said, look, sir, dog or no dog, no gin fizz, get out. So he said, right, Rover, seize him. And the dog leaped over the bar, pinned him against the glasses and went, bowsy, bowsy. No. There's a fella sitting in a cafe. And he spills all his soup in his lap. And he shouts, manager. He said, yes, sir. He said, there's a soup in my fly. He's so unlucky, this. I know this man. He bought a new suit the other week with 2 pairs of trousers. He burnt a hole in the coat. Remember these big slave ships? Remember the slave ships and the fella used to come out with the whip? Kinky one, you know. One day he came out, he stuck his whip in his belt. He said, right, lads, chicken in a basket, scampi in a basket, egg and chips, beans on toast, anything you like, bottle of ale, you're on. So one of the slaves said, what's going on? You know, why all this? He said, well, we want you to row a bit quicker tomorrow because the captain wants to go water skiing. I love this. I love this business. My dad's in the business, you know. It does bird impressions. Eats worms. He went to my agent. He went to my agent the other day and he said, I'd like you to handle me, you know, and my agent said, what you do? He said, bird impressions, and he said, you'll never get on, there's millions of them now, you know. My dad said, well, forget it, and he flew out the window. Anyway, there's this Liverpool supporter, he said, and he wakes up every morning and he puts his red and white hat on, and his red and white scarf, and his whistle, and his rattle. Goes, with a pill. Money, Indian! And this goes every morning. Every morning. And he goes all over Europe watching it. And one morning he come down. Highway! And his missus put his jam bread in front of him. And she said, do you know, Charlie? She said, I think you love Liverpool more than you love me. He said, I love Everton more than I love you.
We had a tramp come to our house the other day, a tramp. They wait for me to come home, you know. Soft touch, Ken. He knocked on the door. I said, what do you want? He said, a piece of cake. Just like that, you know. I said, you what? He said, a piece of cake. I said, you're a cheeky tramp, aren't you? I did. I just went like that. I went. I just did this right in his face. You know. I just went like that. I went. You know. I just did that. I thought, I bet that scared him now. You know? I did. And then I did this in his face, and I went like that. I went. Right, acid. I thought, I bet he feels daft now, yeah. I said, you what? He said, a piece of cake. I said, you're a cheeky tramp, aren't you? Asking for a piece of cake. He said, it's my birthday. I said, wouldn't you like some cold rice pudding instead? He said, I would. I said, well, come back tomorrow, because it's still hot, you know? That put him in his place, didn't it? Don't mess about me. And then the postman come to our house once upon a time. And he knocked on the door. I said, what's up with you? He said, your dog's chewed my hat. And I'm getting a bit fed up, you know. I just looked him right in the eyes, you know, because he was still in a box, you know. I just did that then. I just pulled my pants up, you know, because they kept coming down, you know. I said, I couldn't care less. He said, I don't like your attitude. I said, it's not my attitude, it's your attitude. Do you get it? Not my attitude. What about this long-distance lorry driver? He's away from home a lot, you know. Night driver. Drives a concrete mixer, you know. And he's driving away there and he's thinking to himself, my wife's, you know, I'll go home and catch her out, you know. So he goes home and he calls her out because she went in. I made that up. No, I was only kidding then. He goes home in the morning, early hours, and he saw the bedroom light on and he thought, I've copped him, you know. And he saw this sports car outside his front door. So he tips all this concrete all over it. And the noise must have disturbed him because this fella come running out and he jumped on his bike and rode away.
I walked into a restaurant in Australia, and there was a sign that said, whatever sandwich you order, we have it. So I thought it'd be funny. I said, give me an elephant's trunk sandwich. He came back a minute later. He said, I'm awful sorry. I can't give you that one. And I said, he says, with no bread.
The fella knocking a nail in the loony bin, in the wall. He's got the flat of the head of the wall. He's knocking the point. His mate said, that's stupid. He said, why? He said, well, that nail's for that wall.
Well, I was down in London there, and I had the wife along with me, and I brought her into Madame Tussauds, the waxworks. Then I brought her down into the Chamber of Horrors, and the attendant came up to me and he says, tell your wife to keep moving, we're stock taking.
I know another fella. He's got a way with animals, you know. Tremendous. Well, I used to know this guy. He reckoned he could tame the most ferocious beast with music. And someone said, well, go and prove it. So he stuck him in darkest Africa with a fiddle. And he's sitting in the jungle. And all the rabbits and all the tortoises and everything all come out like, look at him, look at him, look at him. And all the tigers now, look at him, look at him. And they're all loving it, you know, singing with him as well. And this lion burst through and ate him. And the leopard said, what did you do that for? And the lion said, what'd you say?
Mr. Kosygin was inspecting 3 ranks of troops in the Red Square. All very quiet. And all of a sudden, ashoo! He says, who sneezed? Not a titter. Who sneezed? Nothing. He says, Sergeant, shoot the front rank. Steps over. She's right. Who sneezed? Nothing. Sergeant, the second rank. Now then, who sneezed for the last time? The little Russian soldier says, Comrade Kosygin, it was I. He says, you? Bless you. Beethoven's valet went in. He said, I'm leaving you. He said, how do you mean you're leaving me? You've been with me 22 years. He said, I'm sick of hearing you playing the piano morning, noon and night. It cost me £6 a week for Aspros. He said, you can't leave me after 22 years. I get my inspiration from you. He says, me, don't make me laugh. Ha 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 ha. Fellow pays 400 quid for a diving lung, aqua kit and all the lot. Dives off the deep end at Newquay. He's down about 4,000 foot. Little fella there in a bikini. He thought, 400 quid for this equipment up in Condi. 10,000 feet. This fella follows him down. 400 quid. Straight to the bottom. This fella's there again. Gets his slate out. I've paid 400 quid for this equipment. How come you're down as far as me? And the fella writes back, I'm drowning, you nit. Family on this estate wouldn't pay any rent, so they sent the bailiff up with a blue paper, summons, under the door. They had a pair of bellows the other side, blew it back. So he shoved it under again, they blew it back again. It's gone on for about 4 hours. Takes the summons back to the town hall. He said, you get the rent? He said, no, and I wouldn't pay any rent for a drafty bloody house like that. Fellow walks in the pub like that. Landau said, a bit of shell shock, pal. He said, no. He said, I can tell the time with this. What time is it then? He says, 11:15. I said, you're wrong, it's 11 o'clock. Oh, he said, I'm slow.
Nice place, isn't it? Lovely place. I've got the missus with me tonight. Got the wife with me. She's a stripper, my missus, you know. He's on the roof now getting the lead. Like it. Like it. Oh, I'm browned off. I am, I'm browned off.
This country's finished, isn't it? It's finished. Finished. We've been kidded with these decimals, haven't we? Hey, we've been kidded with these decimals, haven't we? A pound's only worth 10 bob, isn't it? Hey? And if you've been sick lately, if you go sick, if you go to the doctor and say you're sick, it's no good saying you're sick. You've got to tell me you're sick a week before you're sick. Do you know that? Hey, have you noticed? Make an appointment. And you go to the doctor, and he says, make an appointment, come back next week. He's hoping you'll peg out. Or you'll get better. My mate went to the doctor last week. Oh, terrible smoker, always smoking. The doctor said, stop smoking, you'll have cancer. So he stopped it for a while. He got the habit. He kept buying them and lighting them, forgetting, and put it out with his foot. He got cancer in the toe. It's true. Bloke went to the chemist the other day. He said, what have you got for hiccups? The chemist hit him. He said, what's that for? He said, well, you haven't got hiccups now, have you? He says, not for me, it's for the missus outside. Took my lad to get his hair cut. I said, how much to cut the lad's hair? He said, 4 and 6. I said, how much for the shave? He said, a shilling. I said, well, shave his head.
I'm very lucky to be here tonight. I was at the doctor's this morning. I couldn't go last week, I was ill. Fella came in, the doctor was behind me. He said, doctor, can I have some more sleeping tablets for the wife? Doctor said, why? He said, she woke up. I don't expect you to fall off your seats if you can just give me an occasional nod. I tell you what, if you're a good audience, I'll do 10 minutes. If you're a bad audience, I'll do an hour and a quarter. Next fellow walked in and said, doctor, there's blue flies all over me. I can't stand them. There's blue flies. The doctor said, don't flick them on me. Next fellow said, doctor, I'm a kleptomaniac. The doctor said, are you taking anything for it? Thank you very much, relations. Next fellow walked in and said, doctor, I've got flat feet. So we give him a foot pump. Next fellow walked in and said, doctor, I'm suffering from loss of memory. The doctor said, how long's this been going on? He said, how long's what been going on?
This fella's in this pub, you see, and this fella come in and he hit him. Do, right in the head. Like that. Oh. He said, I'll get you for that. I'll get you for that. I'll get you for that. Take me years, I'll get you for that. Get you for that. So about 4 years later, he's got this gang. And he said, now place yourselves. And he said he's going in there to have his usual pints. He'll come out and get some fish and chips. And he comes down the road and down this alley. He said, when he comes down here, I want you to grab him and batter him, kick him, do it. I'll have him for that. He said he's down here at 9:20 every night. So they wait. Get in. Got your hammer ready, He boots on, Charlie. He boots. Down here, 9:20, no sign. He's coming, you know, he'll be down here. All right, Daddy. 11 o'clock. Usually he'll be on now, he said. Hope nothing's happened to him.
Good, isn't it, that? And what about this fella that has a budgie so he gets another one to keep it company? And the next morning he come downstairs and there's his budgie swinging on the perch and the other one's stone dead, he thought. Flipping it, look at that. So he goes out and gets another one and the next morning he come downstairs and there's his budgie swinging on the perch again. The other one's stone dead, he thought. Right, you little monkey, I'll cure you. So he goes out and gets a big golden eagle. He can get them anywhere. And he stuck that in the cage. And the next morning he come downstairs and there's his budgie swinging on the perch. Hadn't got a feather on it. And there's this golden eagle stretched out. And he went running up to the cage and said, what happened? He said, I had to take my coat off, so that one. Good, isn't it? And what about the two brothers going up to heaven and St. Peter's waiting for them because one's a goodie and one's a baddie? And he said to the goodie, what kind of a life did you lead on earth? And he said, I didn't drink, smoke, swear, or bother with girls. So he said, you've got a Rolls Royce. And he said to the baddie, how did you go on? He said, I smoked, drank, swore the lot. And I went out with girls as well. He said, you've got a mini minor. And half an hour later, the goodie's coming down this road in his Rolls Royce. And he saw this mini smashed up against a tree, and his brother stood there laughing his head off. He said, "What are you laughing at?" He said, "I've just seen a vicar riding a bike."
Do you know, I've been on a diet now for months. This is true, this. I've never eaten a potato for months. No potatoes, no bread, no sugar in my coffee. I was starving. I went to one of these big stores in Manchester, went round a self-service cafeteria. I ended up with a lousy cup of coffee without sugar. It's terrible with coffee without sugar, isn't it? Starving. And I sat down on this table. I was drinking this terrible... And a fella come along at his wellies. He had 2 dirty, big, fresh cream cakes and a cup of coffee, and he sat on the same table. I thought, the dirtiest... I was starving. He ate 1 cream cake, drank his coffee, walked away and left the cream cake on the table. I thought, blimey, here goes my diet. I looked at the cream cake looked at me. I thought, should I? So I said, yes. So I grabbed the cream cake by the scruff of the neck and I stuffed it in my mouth all in one go. And the bloke come back with another cup of coffee.
Mr. Kosygin's going round this big factory with Ted Heath. He said, "What time they start work here?" He said, "Well, they start about 8 o'clock, clocking on," he said. "In Russia, they start at 6 o'clock in the morning. Any breaks?" "Oh," he said, "they knock off about 10 o'clock, all this wagon comes up and cup of tea and that. In Russia, no breaks." "How long for dinner?" He said, "Well, you get an hour." He said, "Something like a bet." He said, "They take an hour and a half." "In Russia, 10 minutes for dinner. Sandwiches, Russian sandwiches by the machine." "What time they finish?" He said, "Oh, they're pumping the bites up at 4 o'clock," he said. "Full of this children's hour," he said, on the television. "In Russia, they work till 10 o'clock at night. 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night in Russia." He said, "You couldn't get these lads to do that." He says, "Why not?" He says, "Because they're all communists."
The comedians tonight were